Howdy folks. Do a quick video here on this little Boker shark. Isn't she a gorgeous little blade, baby? Wow, I've been doing some research. I've been mostly buying pocket knives, you know, folders. And when I first started collecting knives about two years ago, I was drawn to pretty much my first collection I worked on was some Boker knives, the less expensive stuff, because I didn't know what I was doing really. Just learning about knives and stuff. And I liked Boker a lot then, and I'm just now realizing what a great company Boker is. I know people kick them around, and you know, you get some knives that maybe not be up to what you expect. Boker has a lifetime warranty. You can pretty much send the damn thing back. I imagine they'd probably give your money back, but look at this little fixed blade here, dude. It says looks like Cootsy Design. I don't know what the guy's first name is, but this thing came with such a high polish. It got some condensation on it in shipping because it was so cold outside, and I'm having a hard time getting the original shine totally back. It's got like some marks on the blade. I'm having trouble getting out of there, but it's a high polish. This is AUS-8 steel, about 4-inch blade shape, fixed blade, traditional Boker or Bowie style blade. And I'm going to tell you what, this is one sharp SOB. The blade sharp, you can see there with the light shining on that edge. That sucker's like a razor, and I ain't kidding you, man. It will do the job. This puppy here, took it out of the box and promptly poked my finger with it. Sucker bled for about 10 minutes. So I'll also vouch for the fact it would be an excellent penetrator. But this blade, I suppose you could use it outdoors. I heard somebody made the comment the other day that in one of the videos, you know, really that camping, you really don't have any need to baton, and I really don't have a ton of outdoor experience. So, but I was thinking about it, and I was thinking, you know what, in this area where I live, that's probably true. I'm not real sure why you'd need to be baton. You've got pretty much a selection of any size of kindling and stuff you want. And it just seems like you really wouldn't have to be batoning wood most of the time. But if you needed to, you could baton with this. It's just, it'd be a shame to ding this blade up. This is really kind of a collectible knife. You could carry this knife though if you like to carry knives like this. It's just gorgeous. What got me interested in this is about once a year Boker sends me I don't know why, but they send me a special notice on about once or twice a year. They have a sale, and they had this, I could kick myself, they had this reduced for $49 with the sheath, and I missed out on it. They were sold out. They had limited quantity, and by the time I got my shit together and got ready to order it, it was gone. But the hook had been set and I had decided to get one, so I ended up having to pay more to actually get my hands on one. But I'm glad I did. I paid about $75 for this, but this is some knife for that price. Lending my car to scales. I'm not going to go into a bunch of depth here, but I'm going to tell you this jimping here, I would liken it to, it's probably as good as any jimping I've ever had on any knife. I have a small to medium sized hand. It fits my hand like a glove. I don't know, a lot of these knives are designed by Germans. Boker's a German company, and I happen to have a lot of German lineage, and my mother was full-blooded German, so I don't know, but it fits me like a glove. Boker has the most diverse product line of any manufacturer that I'm aware of. In functionality, knife types, designs, price. So design, price, and functionality, Boker has the widest line of knives available of any manufacturer that I'm currently aware of. And I think Boker is underestimated in the impact that their blades have on the knife community. I've been looking around. I just bought a couple Browse blades that aren't here yet, but I've been looking around and I've seen a couple Boker knives that I would almost swear were the inspiration for the couple of the most popular Browse blades out there. I'm not going to get into what they were, but you know, they're just an inspiration. They're not what I'd call a copy, but if you took a piece of paper and laid them both down and drew just the outline of the knife, they're almost identical. I can tell you that. But other than that, there's changes made to them. And you know what? Maybe it's just coincidence, but it doesn't really matter. But these fixed blades, you know, with Boker on their folder knives, you got a situation where you got to wonder how's the fit and finish. I've got some Boker knives that were inexpensive knives from China, the Magnum line, and they're smooth. They're smooth as my $100 knives, and I've got some $100 Boker fixed blades or folders that, you know, like that Monero. I had to work on that thing. You know, I had to work on the detent. The detent was stiff, and then I had trouble with the lock, like everyone else, and I fixed that just with some graphite. But I had to disassemble that Monero and put it back together, and it's real smooth now, and the blade centering's perfect now. The detent work I did, now it's much smoother to open. It does have a little bit of slop in it when I close the blade, just a little bit of, has a little bit of movement there, but it is what it is. But it's a pretty decent knife now. But with Boker, you know, the quality control sometimes can be an issue on the folders. But all in all, I've had a good experience. But Boker's fixed blades are a whole different story. Boker's fixed blades represent an outstanding value, just like their folders do too. But you get a lot of knife for your money with Boker. This knife here, you know, was machined on a CNC tool. This thing is put down on a flatbed, and there's a machine that has tools, and it's programmed to go out here and cut these, you know, and do the whatever you call it. I'm not a machinist, so I can't remember the names of what you'd call the movements and the tool types, but chamfering, you'd be chamfering this edge here. As far as making the grind here, you'd be using a chamfer most likely. But the point I'm trying to make here is almost all these machines, these CNC machines, are made in Korea, Fanuc and Korea, and a lot of them are made in China now, the most high-tech machines. You know, there's some from Japan too, but I'd say a lot of companies now are buying the Korean and some of the other. But, you know, on a blade like this that has no moving parts, if your materials are good, like this linen micarta is, and you know what I mean, this is basically put there and it's machined. The quality of the machining is important, but is it important whether that machine is sitting in China or if that machine happens to be sitting in a warehouse in the United States? No, I don't think it does. I really don't. And that's why I would argue that although this is made in China, most likely it's not really stamped on here where it's made. I don't think it says where it's made on here, but so I don't know whether this was made in Japan or China, but it doesn't really matter. I would argue that if this thing was custom made, you know, was made here in the United States by this Coetzee guy himself, I don't think you'd get much of a better blade than this. This is pretty dang good. You might get better steel, I guess. You know, and you know what? I'd argue with you to a certain extent on what a better steel is. You know, I've got those Browse blades coming, and they're D2, and I don't have any experience with D2, but I'm just expecting that they'll rust real easy if I'm not careful, because they're tool steel, they're not stainless. And I would also imagine if I was out there in this kind of weather, you know, where it's getting down to 10 degrees or 0, I would imagine you'd have to be real careful with that blade if you don't want to chip it. This Aus 8 is a softer, easier to work steel. It's a little more flexible, a little less likely to stain. I think it will rust, you know, but it's less likely to rust, I think. So, you know, for hard use, you know, or, you know, for it just depends on your application. But I could make an argument. You go out there and you look at them freaking steels, and they're all hardened between Rockwell 56 and Rockwell 61, regardless of the type of steel it is. I still say the heat treat is as important as anything on the steels. I actually think there's more made of this type of steel than should be, unless you're going with an SV35 or SV30 or whatever. In other words, what I'm saying here is I'm pretty happy with the fact this is OS 8, because this is a lot less likely to chip than D2 would. Probably won't stay sharp as long, but it also probably won't rust as easily as the D2 will. So I don't know, but this, how can you beat this? But this jimping is as good as any jimping I've seen on any knife I own. It's pretty much like a saw blade. It doesn't cut your fingers, but I'm going to tell you right now, it's very functional jimping. It's your thumb digs in, and whatever this stuff is just, it's radical, the jimping on it. So, but this is a Bowie knife. I would say use on this blade for me would be self-defense, or maybe all-around use. You could use it as just a blade around a campsite or whatever. You could open a package with this knife, but I'll tell you what you cannot do. Do not try to cut a tomato with this knife. This is absolutely not what this knife is designed for. This will not cut a tomato. So, food prep is out. Anyway, yeah. So I made this video. Not going to get into a lot of the specs, but it's a pretty good thickness here on the steel. It's got a good pommel on the end, but for a fixed blade, this is a hell of a lot of knife for what I paid for it. And if I could have scored one of these for $49, I'm telling you what, that would represent quite a value. But this thing is just a gorgeous blade. In D2, this thing would be probably $250, this blade. Over 200 probably. But it's gorgeous. It's just, the quality of the machining and everything on this Boker knife is absolutely, it's top notch, top notch. I've been looking out there at the Boker Elegance Bob, B-O-B, which stands for Bug Out Bag, believe it or not. Designed by Jesper Voxnays. And all of Jesper's knives are pretty freaking good knives, but these Boker fixed blades, what I'm getting at here is, if you're a knife lover, you go out there and check out some of these Boker fixed blades, the higher quality knives, the Vox knives by Voxnays, Jesper Voxnays. And this one here, like I say, is by a guy named Kutzi, and sounds like probably German, or Danish or something. But check out some of these fixed blades, the Elegance B.O.B. and there's a little knife out there, the small Trigonaut. That's a freaking awesome knife. There's several awesome little fixed blades that are super high quality blades for the money you pay for them. I'd really like to have one of those Elegance B.O.B.s. That's on my list. I think a lot of people in the knife community have missed the value and the usefulness of that little blade, that Elegance B.O.B. I would venture to say just about anybody who does, you know, that goes outdoors, anybody that has a bug out bag sitting around ready to go, probably ought to own one of those knives. Or just collectors, because the value they represent for the quality of knife you're getting is outstanding. Second to none is what I would say. Boker, good job, really good job. I've always liked Boker, and I still like Boker. So yes, I've been disappointed with a few of the blades I've got, but all in all, there's nobody like them when it comes to a blade like this for the price. There's nobody else like them. So kudos to Boker. And that's basically my message in this video. It's probably not the best review of a knife in the world, but it's just a beautiful little fixed blade. Not even going to get into the sheath. The sheath is just average. It's a leather sheath. It's a pretty sheath, but just functional. It's, covers up most of the knife up to the handle to here. It's a pretty sheath. There's nothing wrong with it. You know, I like the sheath is what I'm getting at for a leather sheath. And but for the price of the knife, and now that little Elegance BOB, it comes with a nice sheath with a tech lock and everything. So I'm surprised I've somehow missed these Boker fixed blades up to now. These high quality Boker fixed blades and the value that they represent, but I guarantee you folks, I'm not going to continue to make that mistake. These Boker fixed blades in this quality category are definitely on my short list for blades to buy when funds are available. And I recommend everybody take a look at these little blades and take a look at them, see what you're getting for the money, and go, and you know what? Because I think everybody ought to own some of these knives that Boker's putting out. That's my opinion, and that's basically the message I wanted to get across. And this is a great job by Boker on some of these little fixed blades. They have 4 or 5 fixed blades that I would like to own that are you know, somewhere around the $100 price range. I paid about $70 for this one, and to me that represents an outstanding value. Where are you going to get a blade of this quality for 70 bucks by a top name designer? You're not going to, you know, not of this quality, I would say. But so yeah, Boker just, and Boker has a lot of stuff, you know what, honestly, that I can't afford. I can't even afford Boker's good stuff. They make some really high quality stuff that is out of my price range. You know, they make such a wide line of freaking products, dude. They make every kind of knife you can imagine. And they make a ton of beautiful knives for chefs and people in the food industry, professional chefs. They have 4 or 5 you know, different beautiful product lines. I wouldn't mind having some of them, but like I say, they're not cheap. A set of those runs about $1,000. They have knives. They got some knives out there that are, you know, just one knife is $3,000. They sent me that catalog once by mistake because I won't be ordering out of that one. But beautiful blades. Kudos to Boker. Boker still, after the time I've been collecting, it still remains one of my favorite knife manufacturers. And I can't say enough good about them, okay? I know everybody likes to slam them and freaking rub their feet on them, but hey, you know what? Whatever. So all I know is this is a heck of a lot of knife for the money right here. And if you can't afford a Browse Threat, you know, that Boker Elegance BOB is arguably as good a knife. And he chose that steel, like I said, because it doesn't rust as bad. If you're working out in the field, you're in a bug out bag, it's easier to sharpen it than it would be to sharpen D2, you know. So, and like I say, D2, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to be real careful with that D2 or it's going to rust on me. But that's a concern I have. But anyway, so it is what it is. But wow, Boker, good job. Hey, you know what? That's it. I'm signing off. Thanks for watching if you did. If you haven't moved on to bigger and better things, blondes that are good looking, things like that, then thanks for watching, and subscribe if you want. Thanks a lot.